Hello, my friends. Welcome back. If you're new to me, my name is Lauren, and I am healing my chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue by healing past wounds, by healing my early childhood wounds, my early life wounds, and traumas. I found that the month I started healing these wounds was the month that I started healing my body in a significant way. After so long, years of searching and trying this method and that method and this, diet and this regimen and all these different things, I just wasn't getting better. I stopped getting worse, but I wasn't getting better. But the month that I started healing these wounds, I started healing my body, and my vitality started coming back. I started having more and more days with vital energy and more days without symptoms of chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue. It was incredible. When that happened, you can guess I was not going to stop after that. You get the green light and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the answer. This is the thing that's going to get me out of this mess. I'm going. So it didn't matter to me how ugly the things were that were going to come out of the deep dark hole that I was looking into, because it had reached the point, and you might be here, it had reached the point that the illness had become worse and scarier. The idea of not recovering and not getting out of that state and the sort of debilitated state of that illness became more scary and worse than the possibility of what I was going to find when I looked into these wounds that I had been running from my whole life. And that's the moment that has to happen to do this work, because this work is difficult and it's scary. It's not harder than it's not unmanageable. But the thing is, when you have old traumas and wounds from your childhood, it's sort of built in that you're just very afraid of those wounds because you were a child, and they are traumas because they were too big for you to handle back then. And so the little girl, little boy part of you is still so scared and thinks that it's too dangerous to look at that. But your little girl, little boy self does not know that you're an adult and you have these, resources and capacities that you can heal it, and it's not life-threatening and it's not too scary. Anyway, that was a long intro, but because today I want to talk about an interesting incident I had with caffeine. And I've made another video about stimulant use and adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue, and I've been off coffee for years now, and it was a requirement. I had to get off all stimulants, including the vitamin B, like B vitamins and vitamin C and vitamin D, and anything that was even remotely stimulating at all. I had to get off in order to calm my nervous system, calm my body, along with the breathing. The breathing was the main, so I had this breathing technique that I talked about in another video, and maybe several videos, that it was the end-all be-all of everything that I needed in order to heal my nervous system, calm my nervous system, and rewire it to stay in a parasympathetic state, which is the calm state. But I also needed to stop all stimulation, and that meant, external stimulation too. I needed to stop hanging out with friends. I needed to really manage that and close down somewhat, sort of cocoon myself in order to have most of the time that I could stay calm, because everything in my life, even something nurturing such as talking to a friend, could be so stimulating that to such a sensitive nervous system, it was too much. And I had to make sure that there were long periods in between that and talking to somebody on the phone, or anything that was stimulating, I needed a long break from, to make sure that my nervous system was calm. Managing light was very important as well. Having complete darkness at night and lots of daylight during the day, and managing artificial light. I will make another video about light and the circadian rhythm. It is so important for healing. But the most obvious thing, okay, is caffeine. Had to give that up. Had to go. Had to go. And in the years that I have been healing, so in the last year and a few months that I've been healing trauma, obviously no caffeine. But every once in a while, I have sort of I used to fall into these traps, like I just feel like I need it. There will be days where I would be in a triggered state, and I didn't realize that I was in a triggered state, and so I didn't know what to do. It was sort of the earlier days that before I was still working out this process. And so I would just feel exhausted, and I didn't know why. I mean, now I can see looking back that I was in a triggered state, and some emotion was trying to come up, and I'm starting to wonder if for me, if exhaustion and sleepiness is actually a suppression of sadness. Sometimes that's true, and I don't know if there are other emotions as well. But so sometimes I would fall into this trap of giving into having, okay, I'm just gonna have coffee this one day. I'm not gonna keep having it. I'm just gonna have it this one day. But then I have it. I feel like crap when I'm on it, but it keeps me awake. Or sometimes it's fine while I'm in it, but then the next day, always the next day, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. And if you have adrenal fatigue or chronic fatigue, you know what this feels like. You wake up, every muscle in your body is sore. Your head, everything's puffy. You feel like your head is in a vice. You're exhausted, you're groggy. I always get angry, and just, it's like I'm worse than the day before, and then you want coffee even more. So I would fall into this cycle a bunch. The last time I did this, I was like, never again. I am not falling into that trap again, because it takes days and days to recover. Well, I wouldn't say that I fell into a trap this time, but I had a weekend that was really busy, late nights, and I was so sleep deprived by the time Sunday came, and I had my son, and I just wanted to have a little bit of energy while I was with him and playing with him, and I could hardly keep my eyes open. I was so tired. And I thought, you know what, maybe by this point in my healing, I can have a cup of coffee. So I just had one cup. And I felt like hell. I swear it kept my eyes open. But it's so interesting. And then the next day, I felt even worse. And it wasn't sleep deprivation anymore. It was the after effect of the caffeine. And then the next day was the same. Today is finally getting better, but it's taken me all day to start getting better. I feel groggy, I feel down, I feel uninspired, unmotivated, I can't talk to spirit, universe, soul, my soul. I feel like I can't connect. I'm all fuzzy. And I have not felt like that for months. I mean, the healing that has taken place since I've been doing this emotional work is unbelievable. And especially in this year, I mean, it's just been like exponential growth in my vitality and energy and happiness and joy. And I want that for you, and that's why I'm making this channel. But this effect of coffee, it's so perplexing to me, and I'm like, what is it? What is that? Why? What is it exactly? Because to me, I have focused so much on the biochemistry in the past and the biology, and I'm kind of done with that, to be honest with you, because I keep finding that the bioenergetics are the most important part. And so I used to try to make sense of these things with the biology and biochemistry, and it just it never explained things to the extent that I needed them explained. I'm very picky about these things. Like, they need to explain it fully or they're not satisfactory to me. So I'm looking at the bioenergetics now. Like, I'm trying to figure out, well, so what is the bioenergetic explanation of this? What is the problem with coffee? What is the problem with being stimulated? And I think the answer has to do with the solar plexus and power and disempowerment, and a wound in your solar plexus, a powerlessness, a helplessness wound, that you have a wound and a block to feeling empowered in your life. And if that's true for you, that's what's true for me. Coffee and stimulants can be this sort of, it's just a perpetual battle that you want it so bad, but then it affects you so badly. Or it could have another dynamic for you. Maybe you never craved it, and it always has affected you badly. Of course, everybody's nervous system is different, and everybody has different tolerances for caffeine. But I used to be able to tolerate it, and I can't anymore. And I think that's my bioenergetic body. And what has become so clear to me in this instance about power, why it's become so clear is because in the last month to 2 months, so first started focusing on shame, and that moved me into a more specific focus on power. And I am working on this power wound in depth, and everything that is coming up for me right now has to do with power, powerlessness, helplessness, solar plexus energy. So the reason that I can't have coffee, in theory, this is my new theory, is that if I still have wounds in my solar plexus, which I do, so that's a given. So since I still have solar plexus wounds that I'm working on healing, but they're right there. If I try to drink coffee, how I have used coffee in the past, what it does for me is it helps drive me through to use that solar plexus energy and do. Go forward and do your task list, clean, just do. You're like moving forward in your life to force myself to do things that I didn't want to do, to use the solar plexus energy that I had all kinds of blocks in. So I used it in school, I used it to do tasks I was afraid of. I used to use it to do, because I couldn't reach that ability to do it without the caffeine, without the forcing that solar plexus energy artificially. But now, as my soul has become sort of intolerant of that kind of forcing, shoving, pushing energy that I've always lived my life doing, it's saying no. That my solar plexus energy needs to be used in its purest form. And that is only possible if I heal the wounds. So what has happened now is when I drink coffee now, what I think happens is that it temporarily forces that solar plexus to rev up, or like churn faster. But if the wounds are still there, it kind of wreaks havoc. It forces, and what happens to me is anger leaks out. I have such a problem with anger when I drink coffee now. For the day of, at the end of the day, like at the afternoon after, and then the evening, and then the next day, and then the next day, like there's just this leaking anger. And what I know to be true is that for any emotion, if you don't channel that emotion productively, it's going to leak out unproductively. And what that means is the emotion of anger, which is the solar plexus energy. It's the energy of determination and doing and drive. So we need this energy. This is an important energy in all of our lives. That's what the determination and power and doing and agency is one side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is anger. So if we don't channel it in the productive way, because we have wounds there, then it's going to get flipped over to the other side, and anger and rage is going to come out at other people, at the world, at yourself, all of it. Isn't this interesting? So in my mind, so what coffee does is it sort of flips the coin, because it forces the solar plexus energy. But if your wounds are still blocking the productive side of that coin, that solar plexus coin, it still forces it to move, so it's going to flip it over, and anger is going to come out, and the wounds are going to come out more. the powerlessness, actually the flip side, it's like the shadow energy of that chakra, which includes the wounds. It's like it all gets mumbled, jumbled. It's like, and it's convoluted, and the stuff leaks out, like anger, like powerlessness, feelings of powerlessness, feelings of apathy. I have a lot of apathy that happens. And when you try to force an energy that is not pure yet, that is still mumbled, and it has all of these wounds around it, then it's not going to work properly. And you're going to have these negative effects. So if this theory is true, when all the solar plexus wounds are healed, I should be able to drink coffee again. In moderation, of course. I love coffee. Well, why is this such an issue for me? Because I love coffee and I want to be able to drink it. You know, if I didn't love coffee, it would be a non-issue. But it's a symbol. It's a symbol of forcing one of the chakras to perform when it's not ready to. And I think this is a really important concept, because this reminds me of, videos that I've seen about rebalancing the chakras, where you're doing things to rebalance the chakras, but what makes me I wonder if these really work, because you're not healing the underlying wound. I just think this is so interesting, and I would love to know what you think of this. And if this is helpful for you, let me know. If it's helpful, if it resonates, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I get so excited about sort of new ideas, new theories, and making sense of the energetics of this illness, because if it's out there, I haven't been able to find it. So I'm trying to make these links myself, and with your help, and listening to me, and and joining me on this journey of healing. So let me know what you think, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video. All right, bye.